The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of Royal Gardens Shopping Center as Marcus Thompson adjusted his security uniform for what he thought would be another ordinary Tuesday shift. At 52 years old, Marcus had worked as a security guard for nearly 15 years, and the shopping center had become his second home. His weathered hand straightened his badge one final time before he began his morning rounds through the sprawling, three-story complex. Marcus was known throughout the shopping center as more than just a security guard. Store owners greeted him warmly, children waved when they saw him, and elderly shoppers often stopped to chat about their grandchildren. His genuine smile and patient demeanor had earned him the nickname Guardian Angel among the regular visitors. Despite his modest salary and humble position, Marcus carried himself with quiet dignity and took immense pride in keeping everyone safe. That particular morning felt different somehow. The usual bustling energy of the shopping center seemed subdued, and Marcus noticed fewer families with children than normal. Perhaps it was the gray clouds gathering outside, threatening an afternoon storm. Or maybe it was just his imagination. He shook off the uneasy feeling and continued his patrol, checking each store entrance and greeting the early shoppers with his characteristic warmth. Around 10:30, Marcus noticed a young mother struggling with her shopping bags while trying to keep track of her 7-year-old son, Tommy. The boy had bright red hair and an infectious laugh that echoed through the corridors as he darted between the decorative planters and benches. His mother, Sarah Chen, was clearly overwhelmed, juggling multiple shopping bags while trying to answer work calls on her phone. Marcus approached them with a friendly smile. "Morning, ma'am. Looks like you could use a hand there." Sarah looked up gratefully, her stressed expression softening when she saw Marcus's kind face. "Oh, thank you so much. I'm trying to finish my shopping before my meeting, but Tommy here has other plans." She gestured toward her son, who was now fascinated by the large fountain in the center court. "Tell you what," Marcus offered, "I'll keep an eye on the little guy while you finish up your shopping. The center court is right on my patrol route anyway." Sarah hesitated for a moment, but something about Marcus's gentle eyes and professional demeanor reassured her. "Are you sure?" "I'll only be about 20 minutes. I just need to pick up a few things from the electronics store." Marcus nodded confidently. 20 minutes is nothing. Tommy and I will have a great time, won't we, buddy?" Tommy looked up at the tall security guard with curious eyes, then broke into a wide grin. "Are you a real police officer?" he asked with the innocent directness that only children possess. Marcus chuckled. "Not quite, son, but I'm here to make sure everyone stays safe and happy." As Sarah hurried off to complete her shopping, Marcus settled onto a nearby bench where he could watch Tommy play around the fountain while maintaining a clear view of the shopping center's main corridors. The boy was full of energy, asking endless questions about everything from the security cameras to the different types of stores. Marcus answered each question patiently, enjoying the child's enthusiasm and curiosity. "Mr. Marcus," Tommy said, using the name he'd quickly adopted for his new friend, "do you ever get scared doing your job?" The question caught Marcus off guard. In all his years of working security, children rarely asked such perceptive questions. "Well, Tommy, everyone gets scared sometimes. But being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." Tommy nodded solemnly, as if he understood something important had just been shared with him. "My mom says brave people are heroes." "Are you a hero, Mr. Marcus?" Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest at the innocent question. "I don't know about being a hero, buddy. I just try to help people when they need it." The conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the shopping center's public address system. "Attention shoppers, we are currently experiencing a minor technical difficulty with our security systems. Please remain calm and continue shopping normally. Thank you for your patience." Marcus frowned slightly. He hadn't been notified of any technical issues, and such announcements were usually coordinated with the security team first. He reached for his radio to check with the main security office, but before he could make contact, his attention was drawn to a commotion near the main entrance. A group of teenagers had gathered around something, and their excited voices were growing louder. Marcus's trained instincts kicked in immediately. "Tommy, stay right here by the fountain for just a minute, okay? Don't move from this spot." But as Marcus stood up to investigate the disturbance, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. A man in dark clothing was moving purposefully through the crowd, his hand inside his jacket in a way that immediately triggered every alarm bell in Marcus's experienced mind. The man's eyes were scanning the crowd methodically, and there was something about his posture and movement that screamed danger to anyone trained to recognize it. Marcus's heart began racing as he realized this wasn't a typical shoplifting incident or teenage prank. The way the man moved, the deliberate nature of his actions, and the timing with the suspicious security announcement all pointed to something much more serious. His protective instincts, honed by 15 years of keeping people safe, told him that everyone in the shopping center was potentially in danger. Looking back at Tommy, who was innocently playing by the fountain, completely unaware of any threat, Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. The boy's mother had trusted him to keep her child safe, and now it appeared that safety was about to be tested in ways Marcus had never imagined. The next few minutes would determine whether his years of experience and his commitment to protecting others would be enough to handle whatever was about to unfold in the Royal Gardens shopping center. Marcus's trained eyes remained locked on the suspicious man as his mind raced through possible scenarios. 23 years of military service before his security career had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now every fiber of his being was screaming that danger was imminent. The man's deliberate movements and the way he kept his right hand concealed inside his jacket were textbook warning, signs that Marcus had seen countless times during his deployment. Overseas, moving as casually as possible, Marcus reached for his radio while keeping his eyes on both the potential threat and young Tommy by the fountain. "Control, this is Marcus in the center court. I need an immediate status update on that security system announcement. Also requesting backup at my location." The radio crackled with static before a nervous voice responded. "Marcus, we didn't authorize any security announcement. We're trying to figure out where it came from." The confirmation sent a chill down Marcus's spine. Someone had hijacked the shopping center's announcement system, which meant this was no random incident. This was planned. His military training kicked in fully as he began assessing exits, cover positions, and potential escape routes. The shopping center's layout, which he knew by heart, suddenly became a tactical map in his mind. "Tommy," Marcus called softly, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. "Come over here to Mr. Marcus, okay? We're going to play a special game." The boy looked up with curious eyes and bounded over, completely trusting. Marcus knelt down to Tommy's level, placing gentle hands on the child's shoulders. "Listen very carefully, buddy. We're going to play hide and seek, but this is a grown-up version. I need you to do exactly what I tell you, okay?" Tommy nodded eagerly, excited by the prospect of a new game. "First rule," Marcus continued, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "When I say down, you drop to the ground immediately and cover your head with your hands." "Can you show me?" Tommy demonstrated enthusiastically, dropping into a crouch and covering his head. "Perfect. Second rule. If we get separated, you run to the toy store and tell them to call the police." "Can you remember that?" "Toy store, call police. Toy store, call police," Tommy repeated dutifully, still thinking it was all part of an elaborate game. Marcus's heart ached knowing he was about to shatter this child's innocent world. But keeping him alive was more important than preserving his innocence. "Good boy. Now we're going to walk very slowly toward that big plant over there, and we're going to stay low. Ready?" As they began moving toward better cover, Marcus spotted the suspicious man again. He had positioned himself near the main corridor that connected to the food court, and Marcus noticed he wasn't alone. There were at least 2 other men in different locations, and they seemed to be communicating through subtle hand signals. This wasn't a lone wolf situation. This was coordinated. Marcus's mind flashed back to his military days, remembering the protocols for protecting civilians in hostile situations. The primary objective was always to minimize casualties, which meant getting innocents away from the danger zone while containing or neutralizing the threat. But he was one man with no weapon except his radio and his experience, facing what appeared to be a coordinated attack. "Mr. Marcus," Tommy whispered as they crouched behind a large decorative planter, "this game is getting scary. When is my mom coming back?" The innocent question nearly broke Marcus's heart. Sarah Chen was probably in the electronics store, completely unaware that her son was potentially in mortal danger. Marcus pulled out his cell phone and quickly typed a text message. "Emergency. Stay where you are. Do not come to center court. Call 911 now." Before he could send the message, the sound of breaking glass echoed through the shopping center, followed by screams from the direction of the main entrance. The attack had begun. Marcus's military instincts took over completely as he shielded Tommy with his body and scanned for the nearest secure location. The toy store was too far away, but there was a maintenance door behind the customer service desk that led to a secure office area. "Tommy, remember what I taught you about getting down?" Marcus whispered urgently. "Down!" he commanded, and Tommy immediately dropped and covered his head. Marcus positioned himself between the child and the direction of the disturbance, his body serving as a human shield. More screams echoed through the shopping center, and Marcus could hear the sound of people running. His radio crackled to life with panicked voices. "All units, we have multiple suspects with weapons. Repeat, armed suspects in the building. Police are en route. Estimated arrival 12 minutes. 12 minutes. In a situation like this, 12 minutes might as well be 12 hours. Marcus looked down at Tommy, who was pressed against the planter, his small body trembling with fear that he was finally beginning to understand wasn't part of any game. "Listen to me, Tommy," Marcus said with fierce urgency. "I need you to be the bravest little boy in the whole world right now. Can you do that for me?" Tommy looked up with wide, scared eyes and nodded. "I'm going to pick you up and we're going to run very fast to a safe place. Hold on tight and don't let go no matter what happens." As Marcus lifted the child, he caught sight of one of the attackers moving deliberately through the fleeing crowd, and what he saw made his blood freeze. The man wasn't just armed, he was specifically targeting families with children. This wasn't a random attack or even a robbery gone wrong. Someone was deliberately hunting the most vulnerable people in the shopping center. Every protective instinct Marcus had ever developed, as a soldier, as a security guard, and as a human being, roared to life. This child in his arms represented every innocent person he had ever sworn to protect. The boy's mother had trusted him with her most precious possession, and Marcus would die before he let any harm come to Tommy. With Tommy clinging tightly to his neck, Marcus began moving toward the customer service area, using every piece of cover available. Behind them, the sounds of chaos grew louder, but Marcus's focus was laser sharp on one simple mission: get this child to safety, no matter what the cost. Marcus moved swiftly but carefully through the shopping center, keeping low and using display cases and pillars as cover, while carrying Tommy toward the customer service desk. The child clung to him with surprising strength, his small arms wrapped tightly around Marcus's neck. Despite his fear, Tommy remained remarkably quiet, as if he somehow understood that silence might mean survival. The chaos behind them was growing worse. Marcus could hear more breaking glass, panicked screaming, and what sounded like heavy objects being overturned. His radio continued to crackle with confused reports from other security guards scattered throughout the building. Suspect heading toward the south wing. Multiple shots fired near the food court. Civilians trapped in the department store. As they reached the customer service area, Marcus quickly assessed their options. The office behind the desk was more secure than staying in the open, but it could also become a trap if the attackers found them. More importantly, from there he would have no way to monitor the situation or help other people who might need assistance. His conscience wrestled with his protective instincts. "Mr. Marcus," Tommy whispered, his voice barely audible, "I want my mom." The simple statement cut through Marcus like a knife. This child shouldn't be experiencing this terror. No child should. "I know, buddy. We're going to get you back to your mom very soon. But first, we need to make sure you're safe." Marcus set Tommy down gently behind the customer service counter and quickly surveyed their surroundings. The office door was reinforced and had a deadbolt, but there were also large windows that faced into the main corridor. If they hid inside, they would be invisible from most angles, but anyone passing directly in front would be able to see them. His decision was made when he heard footsteps approaching their location. Heavy, deliberate steps that didn't match the panicked running of fleeing shoppers. Marcus immediately pulled Tommy close and whispered, "Remember our game? We need to be very, very quiet now." He guided the boy to a space between two filing cabinets where he would be completely hidden from view. The footsteps grew closer, and Marcus positioned himself where he could see through a gap in the customer service counter. A man in dark clothing appeared in his line of sight, moving methodically through the area. He was carrying what looked like a crowbar and was systematically checking behind counters and inside open stores. This wasn't random violence, this was a search pattern. Marcus's blood ran cold as he realized what was happening. These attackers weren't just causing chaos. They were hunting for something or someone specific. The way the man was searching suggested they had intelligence about the shopping center's layout and were following a predetermined plan. But what were they looking for? His question was partially answered when the man spoke into a radio. "Alpha Team, any sign of the target? We need to find her before the police arrive." A crackling response came back. "Negative. Beta Team is checking the upper levels. Keep searching the main floor." They were looking for a specific person, a woman. Marcus's mind raced through the possibilities. Was this about a witness to a crime? A person who had information someone wanted to silence? Or was it something even more sinister? Regardless of the motive, Marcus knew that every innocent person in the shopping center was in danger until these men were stopped. The searcher moved away from their location, but Marcus knew it was only a matter of time before they returned. He had to make a decision: stay hidden and keep Tommy safe, or try to help the other innocent people who were undoubtedly trapped and terrified throughout the building. His military training told him to complete the mission, protect the child. But his conscience told him that other children might be in even greater danger. "Tommy," he whispered, "I need you to listen very carefully. I'm going to hide you in the safest place in this whole building, and I need you to stay there no matter what happens. Can you be that brave for me?" Tommy nodded, though Marcus could see the fear in his young eyes. "If anyone except me or your mom or a police officer tries to get you to come out, you stay hidden. Promise me." "I promise," Tommy whispered back, his voice trembling but determined. Marcus led him to a small supply closet behind the customer service office. It was cramped but well concealed with thick walls that would muffle sound. He quickly arranged boxes and supplies to create a small hiding space where Tommy could sit comfortably, but remain completely invisible to anyone who might look inside. "This is your secret fort," Marcus explained, trying to make it sound less frightening. "You're the guardian of this fort, and your job is to stay hidden until I come back for you. If you get scared, count to 100, then count again. I'll be back before you know it." As Tommy settled into his hiding place, he looked up at Marcus with eyes that seemed far too old for his 7 years. "Mr. Marcus, are you going to fight the bad guys?" The directness of the question surprised Marcus. He knelt down and looked Tommy in the eye. "I'm going to do everything I can to keep everyone safe. That's what guardians do. Will you come back?" Tommy asked, his voice so small that Marcus had to lean closer to hear him. "I promise I'll come back for you," Marcus said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. "And when I do, we'll find your mom and you can tell her about how brave you were today." Marcus secured the closet door and quickly gathered what few resources he had available: his radio, his cell phone, and a heavy flashlight that could serve as a weapon if necessary. It wasn't much against organized attackers, but his military experience had taught him that determination and strategic thinking could overcome superior firepower. As he prepared to leave the relative safety of the customer service area, Marcus thought about Tommy hidden in the closet, trusting him to return. The weight of that trust, combined with his duty to protect all the innocent people in the shopping center, filled him with a resolve stronger than anything he had ever felt. He had made a promise to a scared little boy, and nothing in the world would prevent him from keeping it. Marcus moved carefully through the service corridors of the shopping center, areas that most visitors never saw but that he knew intimately from his years of security patrols. These narrow hallways connected the main retail areas and provided access to storage rooms, electrical systems, and emergency exits. More importantly, they allowed him to move unseen while gathering intelligence about the attackers' positions and intentions. Through a maintenance access panel, Marcus could observe the main corridor where he had last seen the searcher. The man was still there, but now he had been joined by 2 others. They were communicating through hand signals and appeared to be coordinating their search pattern. Marcus strained to hear their conversation, hoping to learn more about their objectives. "Control wants this finished in 8 minutes. One of them said quietly. "Police response time is getting shorter, and we can't afford to be trapped here." Another responded, "The target has to be somewhere in the building. She was confirmed entering at 9:45 and hasn't used any of the monitored exits." Marcus's suspicions were confirmed. They were hunting a specific person, and they had been watching the shopping center for some time. This level of planning suggested professional criminals or something even worse. His mind raced through the female shoppers he had seen that morning, trying to identify who might be their target. A terrible thought occurred to him. Sarah Chen, Tommy's mother, had been acting nervous and taking work calls. What if she wasn't just a stressed mother trying to balance shopping and business? What if she was the person these men were looking for? The timing matched. She had arrived around the time they mentioned, and her behavior now seemed less like stress and more like someone trying to stay in contact with people who might be trying to help her. Marcus pulled out his phone and checked the text message he had sent to Sarah. It showed as delivered but not read, which meant she either couldn't check her phone or was in a situation where doing so might put her in danger. Either way, she was likely unaware that her son was safe, which meant she might do something desperate to try to find him. His radio crackled to life again with an urgent message. All units, we have confirmed civilian casualties in the food court area. Medical response is standing by outside, but they can't enter until the situation is contained. Marcus felt his stomach drop. People were getting hurt while he was hiding in maintenance corridors. Every minute he spent gathering intelligence was another minute that innocent people were in danger. But rushing in without a plan would only get more people killed. Marcus forced himself to think strategically, drawing on his military experience in urban combat situations. The attackers had superior numbers and weapons, but they also had a time limit. If he could delay their search even by a few minutes, the police would arrive and the situation would shift dramatically in favor of the innocent people. Moving through the service corridor, Marcus made his way toward the electronics store where Sarah was supposed to be shopping. If she was indeed their target, she was probably trapped there, afraid to leave and potentially unaware that her son was in danger. Marcus needed to find her and determine if she was the person these men were hunting. The electronics store was located in a corner of the shopping center that jutted out from the main structure, which meant it had its own emergency exits. Marcus approached through the service corridor that ran behind the store, hoping to enter through the employee entrance without being detected by the searchers in the main corridors. As he reached the back entrance of the electronics store, Marcus could hear voices inside. He pressed his ear to the door and listened carefully. There were at least 3 people inside, 2 employees and what sounded like a female customer. The customer was speaking in hushed, urgent tones into a phone. "I can't leave yet. My son is somewhere in the building and there are armed men looking for me. You have to send someone." It was Sarah Chen, and Marcus's worst fears were confirmed. She was the target, and she was trapped in the electronics store while armed men searched for her throughout the shopping center. Worse, she didn't know that Tommy was safe, which meant she might try to leave her hiding place to look for him. Marcus knocked softly on the employee entrance, using a pattern that identified him as security. After a moment, the door cracked open and a nervous young employee peered out. "Oh, thank God, Marcus. We've got a situation in here. There's a lady who says men with weapons are looking for her, and we can hear gunshots from the main area." "Let me in quickly," Marcus whispered, "and lock the door behind me." He entered the store and immediately saw Sarah huddled behind the customer service counter with 2 terrified employees. Her face was pale with fear, and her hands were shaking as she clutched her phone. "Mrs. Chen," Marcus said softly, causing her to look up in surprise. "Your son is safe. I have him hidden in a secure location and he's not hurt." The relief that washed over Sarah's face was immediate and overwhelming. "Tommy, you have Tommy?" "Oh, thank God, I was so scared they would find him." "They?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer. Sarah's story came out in urgent whispers. She was a forensic accountant who had uncovered evidence of money laundering by a criminal organization. She had been working with federal investigators, and today was supposed to be the day she turned over the final evidence that would shut down their operation. The criminals had somehow learned of her cooperation and were trying to silence her before she could testify. "They threatened my family," Sarah explained, tears streaming down her face. "I thought if I acted normal, went shopping like any other day, they wouldn't suspect anything. But they were watching me. They've been watching me for weeks." Marcus understood now why the attack was so well coordinated. These weren't random criminals. They were part of an organization desperate enough to attack a public shopping center in broad daylight. They would stop at nothing to prevent Sarah from testifying, which meant every innocent person in the building was expendable to them. "The police will be here soon," Marcus said. "But we can't wait for them. These men are getting more desperate and they're hurting people. I need to get you and everyone else out of here safely. But Tommy, Sarah started. Tommy is safe where he is, Marcus assured her. In fact, he's probably in the safest place in the entire building right now. But if we don't act soon, a lot of other people are going to get hurt. Marcus looked at the two employees, both young men who were clearly terrified, but trying to stay calm. Do you know how to get to the roof through the service areas? One of them nodded. There's a maintenance ladder in the back storage room that goes up to the roof access. Perfect, Marcus said. That's your escape route. Take Mrs. Chen with you and get to the roof. When the police arrive, you'll be visible to their helicopters and completely out of danger. He turned to Sarah. I'm going back for your son and any other people I can help. I promise you I will get Tommy out of this safely. Sarah grabbed Marcus's arm. You don't understand. These people, they'll kill you if they find out you're helping me. This isn't worth risking your life. Marcus looked at her with quiet determination. Ma'am, I've got a 7-year-old boy counting on me to come back for him, and about 100 other innocent people in this building who don't deserve to die because some criminals want to silence you. This is exactly what's worth risking my life for. Marcus watched through the security monitors as Sarah and the two electronics store employees made their way through the service corridors toward the roof access. The store's back office had a bank of screens connected to the shopping center's security system, giving him a tactical advantage he hadn't expected. From here, he could see the locations of all 3 search teams and track their movements throughout the building. What he saw on the monitors made his blood run cold. The attackers had cornered a group of elderly shoppers in the department store and were questioning them aggressively. In another area, they had blocked the main exit and were systematically checking everyone trying to leave. This wasn't just a hunt for Sarah anymore. They were willing to terrorize and potentially harm dozens of innocent people to find her. More disturbing was what Marcus observed about their coordination. These men moved with military precision, communicating through sophisticated equipment and following tactical protocols that suggested professional training. This was no street gang or desperate criminals. This was an organized operation with significant resources behind it. Marcus used the store's landline to call the shopping center's main security office. Control, this is Marcus. I have eyes on the suspects through the electronic store security system. There are at least 6 men, armed and organized. They're holding civilians hostage in multiple locations. Marcus, thank God, came the reply. Police ETA is now 4 minutes, but they're setting up a perimeter first. They can't come in until they have tactical units in position. Can you maintain your position? Negative, Marcus replied firmly. I've got innocent people trapped throughout the building, including children. I can't wait for tactical teams while these guys hurt more people. Marcus studied the security monitors one more time, memorizing the positions of each search team and identifying their apparent blind spots. The shopping center's layout, which he had patrolled thousands of times, was now a tactical map in his mind. He could see paths through the service areas that would allow him to move unseen and potentially help trapped civilians escape. His biggest concern was getting back to Tommy. The boy was well hidden, but Marcus had promised to return, and the child was probably terrified by all the noise and commotion echoing through the building. More importantly, if the searchers became desperate enough, they might start checking areas they had previously ignored. Marcus gathered what supplies he could find in the electronics store that might be useful. A handful of zip ties that could be used as restraints, a box cutter from the shipping area, and a small handheld radio that operated on a different frequency than the shopping center's security system. It wasn't much, but it was better than going out empty-handed. Before leaving the relative safety of the electronics store, Marcus took one more look at the security monitors. One of the search teams was moving toward the center court area, dangerously close to where Tommy was hidden. Marcus's protective instincts overrode every tactical consideration. That child was counting on him and nothing else mattered. Moving through the service corridors with practiced stealth, Marcus made his way back toward the customer service area. The sounds of the ongoing crisis echoed through the building, shouting voices, the crash of overturned displays, and the terrified cries of trapped shoppers. Each sound reminded him that while he was focused on saving one child, dozens of other innocent people were suffering. As he approached the customer service area through the back corridors, Marcus could hear voices nearby. 2 of the searchers were examining the area where he had hidden Tommy, but they were focused on the main office space and hadn't yet discovered the supply closet. Marcus pressed himself against the corridor wall and listened to their conversation. The kid's mother was definitely in this area earlier, one of them said. Multiple witnesses saw her with a small boy. If we find the kid, we can force her out of hiding. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. These men were prepared to use a 7-year-old child as leverage against his mother. Every protective instinct he possessed roared to life, and it took all his military discipline to remain hidden and think tactically instead of charging in blindly. Check every closet, every office, every hiding spot, the second searcher commanded. If the boy is here, we find him. Control says we have 2 minutes before we have to abort, so let's make them count. 2 minutes. Marcus realized that the attackers were more concerned about police response than he had thought. They weren't planning to make a prolonged stand. They intended to complete their mission and escape before law enforcement could surround the building. This gave him both an advantage and a terrible deadline. Moving as quietly as possible, Marcus positioned himself where he could see both searchers while remaining concealed. They were armed with handguns and moving systematically through the customer service area, checking behind counters and inside offices. It was only a matter of seconds before they reached the supply closet where Tommy was hidden. Marcus had to make a choice that would define not just his own fate, but the fate of an innocent child who trusted him completely. He could try to create a distraction to draw the searchers away, but that would reveal his presence and potentially lead to a confrontation he couldn't win. Or he could wait until they found Tommy and try to intervene at that moment, but that would mean traumatizing the child and potentially putting him in the middle of violence. There was a third option, one that his military training had prepared him for, but that he had hoped never to use as a civilian security guard. He could take the initiative and neutralize the threat before it reached Tommy. It would be dangerous and could go wrong in countless ways, but it was the only option that guaranteed the child's immediate safety. As the searchers moved closer to Tommy's hiding place, Marcus made his decision. He had promised a scared little boy that he would keep him safe, and he had given his word that he would return. Sometimes keeping a promise required everything a person had to give. Marcus gripped the heavy flashlight in his hand and prepared to do whatever was necessary to protect an innocent child who was counting on him. The boy's whispered question echoed in his mind. "Are you a hero, Mr. Marcus?" In the next few moments, Marcus would discover what kind of man he truly was. Marcus waited until the first searcher reached for the handle of the supply closet where Tommy was hidden. In that moment, with an innocent child's life hanging in the balance, 15 years of quiet security work and 23 years of military training crystallized into pure protective instinct. He moved. The element of surprise gave Marcus the advantage he needed. The first attacker never saw him coming. Marcus struck with the heavy flashlight, connecting solidly with the man's weapon hand and sending his gun clattering across the floor. Before the second attacker could react, Marcus had positioned himself between both men and the closet door, his body serving as a human shield for the child hidden inside. "You want to get to that boy?" Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had faced far worse situations than this. "You'll have to go through me first." The second attacker raised his weapon, but Marcus was already moving. Years of close-quarters combat training took over, as he used the confined space of the office area to his advantage. He overturned a desk to provide cover and forced the gunman to reposition, buying precious seconds while the sound of approaching sirens grew louder outside. "Marcus, this is Control." His radio crackled. "Police tactical units are entering the building. Hold your position." But Marcus wasn't holding any position. He was advancing, using every piece of furniture, every corner, every shadow to close the distance between himself and the armed men who threatened Tommy's safety. The first attacker had recovered his weapon, but Marcus had spent too many years learning how to fight in close quarters against armed opponents. The confrontation was brief but decisive. Marcus's combination of tactical knowledge, protective fury, and intimate familiarity with the shopping center's layout proved superior to the attacker's weapons. Within moments, both men were on the ground, disarmed and restrained with the zip ties Marcus had taken from the electronics store. As the sound of police boots echoed through the shopping center corridors, Marcus finally allowed himself to breathe. He approached the supply closet with trembling hands and gently opened the door. Tommy looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes, but immediately broke into a relieved smile when he saw Marcus's familiar face. "Mr. Marcus." "You came back," Tommy whispered, launching himself into Marcus's arms with the complete trust that only a child could show. I counted to 117 times and I was getting scared, but I remembered you promised. Marcus held the boy close, feeling the weight of kept promises and protected innocence. I told you I'd come back, buddy. A promise is a promise. Over Tommy's shoulder, Marcus could see police tactical officers securing the area, their professional efficiency bringing order to the chaos that had consumed the shopping center. Within minutes, the main threat was neutralized. The remaining attackers, realizing their operation had failed and police had surrounded the building, attempted to escape through emergency exits only to find tactical teams waiting for them. The sophisticated criminal organization that had seemed so threatening was quickly dismantled by professional law enforcement response. But for Marcus, the most important moment came when Sarah Chen was escorted down from the roof by police officers. The reunion between mother and son was everything Marcus had hoped for when he first made his promise to keep Tommy safe. Sarah's tears of relief, Tommy's excited recounting of his adventure with Mr. Marcus the hero, and the overwhelming gratitude in both their eyes made every risk Marcus had taken worthwhile. I don't know how to thank you, Sarah said to Marcus as paramedics checked Tommy for any signs of trauma. You saved his life. You saved both our lives. Marcus, still wearing his simple security uniform and looking somewhat worse for wear after the confrontation, shook his head modestly. I just did my job, ma'am. Keeping people safe is what I'm here for. Tommy looked up at his mother with the excitement that only children possess when recounting an adventure. Mom, Mr. Marcus is a real hero. He fought the bad guys and kept me safe in the secret fort, and he promised he would come back, and he did. Later, as the shopping center was secured and witness statements were taken, Marcus learned the full scope of what had been prevented. The criminal organization Sarah had been investigating was responsible for laundering millions of dollars through legitimate businesses. Her testimony, which she was now able to provide safely, would help federal prosecutors shut down an operation that had been operating for years. The media attention that followed was something Marcus had never expected or wanted. Headlines calling him a hero security guard and shopping center savior made him uncomfortable. Television interviews and newspaper reporters asking about his heroic actions left him genuinely puzzled about what all the fuss was about. I was just doing my job, he told every reporter who asked. Any decent person would have done the same thing. But Tommy Chen and his mother knew better. They knew that not everyone would have risked their life to keep a promise to a scared 7-year-old boy. The shopping center management offered Marcus a promotion, increased pay and recognition that would have changed his life significantly, but Marcus declined most of it, asking only that they install better security systems to protect the families who shopped there. He returned to his regular patrol duties, greeting the same store owners, waving at the same children, and maintaining the same quiet dignity that had always defined him. Months later, Tommy Chen would still wave excitedly whenever he saw Marcus during shopping trips with his mother. The boy never forgot the man who had kept his promise, who had shown him what real courage looked like, and who had proven that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear security uniforms and carry themselves with quiet strength. For Marcus Thompson, the recognition was nice, but the real reward was simpler and more profound. Every morning when he put on his security uniform and began his rounds through the Royal Gardens shopping center, he knew with absolute certainty that his work mattered. He was more than just a security guard. He was a guardian, a protector, and a keeper of promises to children who trusted him completely. And in a world that often seemed short on heroes, that knowledge was worth more than any medal or commendation could ever be. Marcus had discovered that heroism wasn't about seeking glory or recognition. It was about being the kind of person who would rather risk everything than break a promise to a scared child who was counting on you to keep him safe.